Hello, this is Rich Rosen, founder and CEO of Fastcall, and I'm going to spend just a few quick minutes going over the settings in Fastcall application. Welcome, congratulations on the new setup. So this is in the summer 20 release of Salesforce, and in Fastcall we're in version 6.84, which is July of 2020. So you'll see inside the application there are My settings for the user, admin settings, Salesforce permission sets determines what you will see. I'm just going to focus on My settings here. So if I was not a Salesforce admin, I'd only see My settings. So we start user settings. We will take your name and email address from your Salesforce user record. The title, address, and time zone just lets us know who you are. Some information here about your setup. Missed call email as it stands, as it just as it's described. We'll send email when for your missed calls. Groups that you may be a member, and group membership is used in a few different ways. You can be in a group that's assigned to phone numbers. You can be in a group that's assigned to recorded messages. Groups are used for inbound call distribution, so it's just sort of a little shortcut here to show where you might be a member. The rest of the information here under the user setup just again tells you a little bit about who you are. If you are using a hard phone, your make and model of your headset, browser, your internet connection, your computer. I'm on a wired Mac, and I'm working in the office. I'm actually working at home, so I can change that. And again, Fastcall will be sent this information when you submit a case, which I'll show you down here. It's the last thing we get to. That way we know a little bit about who you are. Okay, so the next section is user widget settings, your status. I actually have the application closed right now, but available says you can receive an inbound call. So you would see that in the application available, but it's also here. Extension, if you're using that for inbound call routing. Country code, which is sort of your default user country code. I'm in the U.S., but that could be anywhere around the world. Your caller ID and device also here in the application. That's my caller ID. That's my device. The user will see this only in the application. This allows both Fastcall support to see this and your own admin, some call recording settings. So here are devices. These two devices are taken from Salesforce, from the office phone and mobile phone from your Salesforce user record. These are also devices added in the application. You can add them here. So you can add an office phone, a mobile phone. We do support SIP, which is a IP phone used for an office. You add that here, but these are your devices. Devices are used both for outbound calls. I can make an outbound call using the soft phone, or to receive inbound calls, which happens to be our next settings. So under inbound settings is where we are setting up how we're receiving our inbound calls. Here I'm receiving inbound calls on a soft phone for 10 seconds. We do have time of day routing. I could also add simul ring, so there could be two devices, so I can ring both devices at the same time. And if I do ring, set up more than one route, we call it overflow. So you can have one, then the other. That would be here. The next phone says ACD, stands for automatic call distribution, is used specifically for calls routed to a group. So these might be two different devices. The ACD only supports one device, so you may have soft phone and a simul ring for an office phone or mobile. And then your ACD phone would be set here. And the timing is also set in the ACD setting, which would be set up by your admin. Next, recorded name. Looks like I don't have mine recorded. That's not good. Probably in here somewhere. If not, I need to record it. There we go. That's probably it. So this is where, again, for the phone menu, which goes back to where we set the extension earlier, if you want to use your name in the phone menu, it's here. It's recorded 2 steps ahead under messages, but anyway. Option to forward an SMS to email. So my email address is there. Option to forward SMS to phones. My phone number is there. These are for SMS settings specifically. Voicemail, is it enabled? Yes. This is my personal voicemail greeting, so it's not any voicemail that might be assigned to a different phone. Timeout is how long the application will wait to listen to a voicemail. So if the person doesn't start talking, 20 seconds is probably pretty long, but that's a timeout. Maximum length is 2 minutes. Transcription's great. I like that. So with the missed call email, the transcription of the voicemail would be sent to you, and it's also set on the Salesforce task. User phones are phones, I have a lot, are phones that are assigned to your user, which might be a provisioned phone, and these will be assigned to you as a user, or if you are in a group. So you can see here's a phone. This is a verified phone, but this verified phone, which is one of my mobile phone numbers, it's actually a Google Voice number, is assigned to me, but this phone, which is provisioned, is assigned to, in this case, assigned to a voicemail, but these are assigned to ACDs or groups. So phones can either be assigned to you, or if you are a member of that group, you'll see those phones here. And phones can be provisioned phones, which are provisioned in the application, or a verified phone, which is your phone that you own and you want to use as caller ID. The verified phone for caller ID will also be seen here as your outbound caller ID, and you can change that here. You have to add it where we are now, but that's the outbound caller ID. A provisioned phone can be used as outbound caller ID and route inbound calls. Messages, we mentioned before, recorded messages. It can be text to speech or a file, which is a recorded file that's stored, or a recording that you record here in the application. You can see I can actually play that. So I have way too many recordings, but you just may have your own voicemail here, or your outbound voicemail drops. This is also where you record your outbound voicemail drops. You come over here, you give it a name. Again, it's assigned to a user or to a group. It could be text, could be a recording. If it's an audio file, you're going to give a URL of the audio file. Not quite as common, but it is supported. The recording, we will call you on a device. It does have to be a hard device. We don't call the soft phone for this. So you call a hard phone, and you can record your voicemail greeting or a voicemail drop message, and you save that, and that's available to you. SMS templates, kind of similar to what we were just looking at. They're kind of like messages. We put them in a separate setting, used for SMS, and we do support merge. So you can see here this is a merge using Salesforce merge. So it can be a template with merge and then support. And if you need support, you're going to submit a case here. We may ask, did you grant access to your org, and that might be granted by you or your admin. If your admin grants access, we're logging in as that user and have with admin rights. If we may also ask access for you to the end user to grant access, because then we can log in and we can see your user settings, which is really everything we just reviewed. If we want to actually look at your user settings, which we can see as an admin, but we can't experience it as you. So if we want to see if we're not trying to replicate an error, we might want to replicate that as your user. And if we log in as your user and we don't replicate the error, then we know that's probably not the application. Could be browser or your operating system or some other issue. Okay, so that is a quick tour of your settings only. I did talk a little bit about the application. I'm not going to spend too much time here. I mentioned your devices were set here, so after they are added to the application, your devices are available here. And again, that could be the soft phone, could be an office phone, could be a SIP, could be a mobile. Your caller ID, which could be a verified number or provisioned number, and you add them where we just were, and then you can pick them here. If you are on the soft phone, there are some specific settings that work. You can see that since I'm actually talking on my soft phone right now, we're seeing that. Some specific settings around the soft phone, some advanced settings for echo and noise suppression. You see that. You've seen these before in other applications like Zoom and other audio applications. Our calls are here, inbound and outbound calls. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time here. This is an inbound call. I can reply with an SMS. I can reply with a phone call. I can go to the Salesforce task. I can block an inbound call. If it's a wrong number or spam, I can actually delete the Salesforce task. I can be in SMS mode, which is going to give me my SMS. I can similarly phone reply to an SMS. I can delete this. I can pick up one of those SMS templates that we talked about before. Otherwise, I would just sort of reply back here. You know, it's SMS. You've done that before. Reply, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. SMS. This is what we call an internal dialer or intercall, which allows us to call other Fastcall users, and we call those Fastcall users on the inbound settings that they have set up. So if that user has soft phone and mobile phone and SimulRing, the internal dialer will call them on that route. You can call any other Salesforce user on the phones that are set on their Salesforce user record, because another Salesforce user who's not a Fastcall user will not have a soft phone. You can set up a group and call a group. Here, there's also a ability to set to call specific phone number, like an address book. Here, there's your keypad. It's important. Phone, SMS, and some basic statistics around your calls are here. Some info about call goals and some groups, an area that we've been working on. Menu is here. Another way to get to your device, your audio settings, caller ID, some call recording settings. This takes you back to where we started, which is a good place to finish, back where we started. A diagnostics tool that lets you test your internet connection, another link to support, and a link to help. And then you can make that menu go away. It's called a hamburger. It's up here in the upper left. Notification window. We're actually going to be updating this in the next release to say things that are more meaningful. It doesn't say much now. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully this was helpful. I didn't actually expect to cover as much as I did, but why not? If you do have any questions, shoot us an email or use the help, the support here, because that's great, because it sends us information about your setup, which is very helpful. Fastcall is a native application, which means all of this that we just looked at is in your Salesforce org only. We actually don't see any of this unless you contact us by support and give us support access so we can log into Salesforce. So if you said, hey, we're having a problem with my inbound routing settings, we don't see that unless we log into Salesforce. Fastcall is not an application that is working outside Salesforce where we see everything and then you have some not so good integration into Salesforce. Our application is entirely in Salesforce, designed in Lightning Design System, so it looks like Salesforce, feels like Salesforce, but these settings are all in your Salesforce account, so we have to either log in by support or ask you about specific settings. We're not going to see any of this data because none of it leaves Salesforce. Great. Thank you for the time, and please let us know if you have any questions.